Michael, we have a big announcement for the show today. It's going to be pretty amazing, and I'm really excited for people to listen to it. That sounded like something Donald Trump would say. The way I phrased it.
The best.
It was the best. Hey, seriously, guys, we are dedicating a segment to the show to you guys, listener questions. It's going to be in the beginning of every show. It's my small give back to you. You can ask me about whatever. It could be career questions, life questions, animal questions, bear questions. What else do we got? Sasquatch questions. I will do my best to answer them in a hopefully enlightening and entertaining way. And plus, I just want to give back to you guys. You guys have been such great listeners of the show, and it's my small give back to you. And I love you guys and for all your support. So, Michael, let's start off. What kind of mail do we got today?
Our first question comes from Michaela Freeman, and her question is, how is Jay Simmons? And is anything wacky in the future for him? Love interest, being BFFs with Kate?
Okay.
Also, how are you, Wesam?
I like that. She asked her question and then got personal. And by the way, how you doing, Wesam? Michaela Freeman, Miss Freeman. I don't know how to pronounce your first name. Is it Michaela, you think?
I think it's Michaela.
Michaela? I'm going to say Miss Freeman. Miss Freeman, Jay Simmons has some awesome things coming up in this season. The writers have been doing an amazing job of putting some twists and turns into his life. He'll make some new friends, maybe some new love interest, who knows? But there might even be some frustrating people in Jay's life. And that might come up in the very first episode of season 2. Maybe, maybe not. I can't give away too much. Me as a human, I'm doing great. There's a lot to be thankful for. So yeah, thank you. Miss Freeman, that was a great first question. A round of applause for Miss Freeman. Woo! Do we got anything else?
We have one more question, and
okay.
It's deep.
All right.
Very deep.
Okay, go ahead.
Wesam from Anonymous.
Okay.
Do you get depressed? How have you dealt with depression in your life?
Okay. Yes, I used to get a lot more depressed in the past. This is how I've overcome my depression and my anxiety. I count my blessings. Whenever I start feeling sad or I'm about to get sad, I start going, okay, what do I have that I'm thankful for and that other people would want to have in my life and that they don't have in theirs? So I start listing those things. And that feeling of depression or being sad starts to dissipate and eventually it goes away. I found that the more active I am physically, the more physical exercise I do, my depression has gone away. So I would recommend starting there. You know, go out on a jog, even if you don't feel like it. Start counting your blessings. And then you'll realize, like, oh, wow, there's a lot of people out there who don't have what I have. Even joining like a soup kitchen of some sorts, or, you know, you join like a big brother or a big sister club, you know, for kids who are orphans or something. You'll realize, oh my gosh, I'm being of service to somebody who needs me, and you know that'll help with. I believe that will help with your depression. And best of luck too. And don't be afraid to ask somebody for help. There is and I hope it's not into this point, it's not to a suicidal point of your depression. I really hope not. But there is a free hotline you can call. It's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and it's 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255. And I actually just retweeted a number where if you can't afford therapy, you can call this number and they'll give you free therapy on the phone.
Great.
So you have a bunch of options there that you can try from. And let me know if you end up trying any of these things and it works for you. We'd love to hear from you too as well.
Follow-up.
A follow-up, yeah. And if you are struggling with depression out there and you have tried any of these things and it has helped, write into us, or you can tweet at us. You can message us on Instagram, and we'll keep you anonymous, of course. And it's all Wesam's World, so you can find us pretty easy on there. Our guest today is one of my co-stars on the show, Charles Michael Davis, and you might know him from Younger, The Originals, Grey's Anatomy, Switched at Birth, who we worked with Katie LeClaire.
I saw that.
Yeah. Small world. Small world. Amazing guy. Super, super genuine human being. I'm so excited that he was on the show today. Please give it up for Charles Michael Davis. Dun, 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 dun. Charles!
Hey,
Dude, thanks so much for coming on the show.
thanks for having me.
I just took like the best sip of coffee ever.
Mm.
I don't know why, because I've been sipping it before I came here,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
but now it's at that optimal temperature. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm not a coffee drinker.
Oh, you just drink tea?
No, I mean rarely.
Rarely. What
Just
do you
water.
drink? in the
Water.
mornings? Water?
Smoothies.
Smoothies?
Yeah.
Lemon water?
Lemon water.
Reggae drinks that.
Reggae does.
I saw him order it on the plane.
Lemon water.
I was going to give him a little shit for it, but I was like, nah, he looks tired. How you been, man?
Oh, tired.
I know.
Yeah.
Long days.
Long days work. But yeah, how about you? How you been?
Dude, same. A little tired, but I'm loving it, man. I mean, you know what it's like being an actor. We work so rarely. So even during these tired times, I'm like, I'd rather be tired like this than not working.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But I did creep on you a little bit more deeply since you were coming on the show.
That was you outside my house.
That
the other
was.
day, creeping
and-
through the bushes very deeply.
I'm kind of upset you didn't answer your door.
I was scared.
Shouldn't have worn that mask then. No, man,
But
like
you were
you've
pretty
had
good.
an amazing amount of success, and from the conversations we've had together, you've told me that you didn't always want to be an actor when you were young. Is this correct?
It wasn't that I didn't want to be an actor. It just wasn't a possibility. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio. And
Okay.
For some reason, I thought to be an actor, you had to be born into it. You know, like the child of actors, or you had to get started in theater, which I didn't. I was in sports, so I didn't even have. It wasn't even on my radar. It was like I play sports. Some of those kids, they do this thing, drama, which I didn't even know that was like putting on plays. Until I got to high school and saw my friends do Bye Bye Birdie, and I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it just wasn't on my radar.
And what was the pivotal shift for you to be like, okay, now I know this is a possibility. This is what I want to pursue. When did that happen?
Oh, it wasn't until I was in college. I was doing print modeling, and I did print modeling because I worked retail.
What were you studying in college?
Marketing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think my brother studied that, and I'm still not sure what exactly that entails.
What was it? Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah. I know
nobody
that's
is.
no nobody does.
It's the major you take when you just want to seem like official. Like I didn't even know my school was a business school, so it's like I couldn't, study science or anything. I was like, I'll study marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was in college. Was there a something in particular that happened, or was it like over a time period?
Oh yeah. Well, first I went and I found this print agent, modeling agent in Cincinnati, Ohio, Jake Lang at Wings. Give him a shout out. And I was with him for a little bit, and I did a few jobs here and there. And then he took me to this convention in Orlando, Florida. And so there he said, I'm going to sponsor you, so you got to do the modeling and the acting part of the competition because it's all paid for. So I learned a monologue while I was there. We did like a cold read and stuff like that. And then at the end, there's callbacks. And so most of my callbacks were for acting. And so, yeah. And so I thought, oh, well, I must have some sort of natural ability. And I thought maybe with a little bit of training, I'll be able to take on, the industry. And
Yeah.
so actually, from there, I left school and moved out to LA and decided to become an actor.
That's a gutsy move.
Yeah, it's a gutsy move, but it also came out of a place that was like sad because it was like it was a great option because I was studying marketing, but something that I didn't even know anything about, but took because it was one of the majors, one of the better majors at the school. But I was interning for the Cincinnati Bengals, and I would sell tickets for them, and you would just sit there and you would just make phone calls or wait for the phone to ring and take orders, and it was a good living, but it wasn't for me. And then also the winter hit, and it was a very cold winter, and I was just like left to reflect. There was no going out, no partying, and I was kind of like, just like, what is my life going to look like? And I started to imagine it, waking up, going, selling tickets, taking phone calls, cold calling people I never met before, trying to get money from them for football tickets that I'm not even that big of a fan of, going to sporting events. So when acting came along, it seemed like I started to add it up, and it seemed like an adventure, like something really to try, and the payoff would be good. I thought that's a life I would want to live.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
how
did
you
heaven and hell,
Yeah, but not without extreme risk either. You know what I mean? Did you know anybody in LA before you moved out here?
Never been to LA. Never really took an acting class.
So
bold. I found out when I first got here that it's very tough to rent an apartment because I don't have a California license. I don't have a bank account in LA. I'd never had a job really. So yeah, it was uphill.
I had a little bit more planning, and I knew one person out here, but still, whenever I look back, I'm like, man, that's kind of a stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not smart. And I get why a lot of people are always like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Especially like older generations. It's hard to understand all the risks, especially because there's no like guidebook for brand new actors out here.
Yeah, but what was the alternative for you then? Because to pursue one thing, you must have thought, well, this is my heaven, but this is my hell.
Well, when I knew I was going to pursue acting professionally was, I think, my first year, end of the first year or beginning of the second year of of college, excuse me. And I was already planning on double majoring in international business and theater because I had always done theater, and I was like, I like it. It's great. I have a lot of fun doing it. And then there was this moment where my perspective on acting shifted, and it was such a simple thing. Lisa Wilson, my acting teacher in college at the time, amazing, amazing teacher. We were studying Uta Hagen's Respect for Acting.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically says, every line has to mean something. What is this, and I know that sounds so simple right now. That, like, of course, that you can't just say a line. What does it mean? What's the subtext? What's behind it? What's the tactic? Why are you saying it in the first place? And I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. And then I was doing a Shakespeare scene, Hamlet's, where he is...
Love some Hamlet.
Love Hamlet. Where he's stabbed Polonius and he's yelling at his mom. You remember that scene? The priest. He stabs the priest because he's hiding behind the... Yeah. And then he basically berates his mom for her betrayal of his father, her husband. And something happened to me in that scene, man, where I felt like my aura was glowing golden. It's like a golden moment. I felt very in tune with the moment, very in tune with the emotions, everything. And I was like, oh, shit, like, this is acting. And then when the scene was done, I looked at my acting teacher for approval, of course, you know what I mean? And she was like, yes, how did that feel? And it's like, oh, like this. I'm like, oh, that's acting. Yes, this is very special. It was very truthful. And that's when I decided, like, okay, I got to just do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So it's pretty intense moment for me. But, like...
It's a visceral moment, too, huh?
Extremely. Extremely.
You
But like the planning out, like, okay, I'm going to go to LA and do this. I'm just going to do this. Oh, yeah. I'll get a starring job, and then I'll get an agent, and then I'll work a couple years, and then I'll book my first guest star. Like, I said that so, I don't know, carefree almost. Flippantly.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's the structure of story, though, that there's a call to adventure, and it's almost a trap, actually. Because if the hero actually knew how hard it was going to be, then and there, he'd be like, nah, I'm not going to do it.
That's so true.
Right? That's why they, be naive. Like, there's something to just going forward and figuring it out,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of trial by fire. Let, especially children, let them experience things firsthand. Of course, don't let them die, but
don't literally throw them into fire.
Yeah, I think that's what we're saying. Don't throw kids into fire. I'm glad we said that out loud.
Yeah. Disclaimer, do not throw any of your children literally into a fire to see how they cope with it.
Oh my gosh. It's like that scene from The Office where Ryan is jealous of Kelly's new doctor boyfriend. Have you seen The Office?
Not that much.
Not that much?
Yeah.
Have you seen it? Okay, yeah, I've heard that. So basically, he's really jealous of her boyfriend. He's a baby doctor, pediatrician, and he's like telling Jim and Pam like all these tips about their new baby, like what to do. And then Ryan comes in. He's like, "Oh, and by the way, if the baby's crying, don't shake it." Don't. And they're like, "Oh, thank you for that
Good
tip,
advice,
Ryan."
Yeah,
Anyway,
because he probably tried it.
what? So you had management when you first came out to LA or reps, right?
No.
How did you get them then?
Man, it was work. Like I moved out here with two other actors, and they were people that one I had only met while on the trip out to LA.
Okay,
like
wait a minute.
Yeah,
What?
yeah,
You picked up a hitchhiker?
yeah.
Okay, that's a. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
So my agent was like, "Well, there's this girl Tiffany Hines, and she was on this show Beyond the Break, and
Yeah.
some other stuff, and Nikita." And Tiffany was dead set on moving out, and I was like, "Great, I'm gonna need to move out with somebody and help, cut the cost of rent and this and that, and just have somebody that is familiar, from your hometown and all." But she was staying in St. Louis, so me and Buddy, who also wanted to move out to be an actor, who I just met through that convention,
Of course.
is still a good friend. We backed up, drove out to St. Louis, met up with Tiffany. Hi, nice to meet you. We caravaned out to LA, and then we got an apartment, and then
Wow.
all lived together. But
So trusting.
yeah,
So
naive,
trusting.
so nice, so trusting.
Yeah.
I know. But there was a manager that said he wanted to work with us, and he's like, "Yeah, well, they are. Like, hey, come out to LA. We'd love to work with you. Hey, come out to New York. We'd love to work with you. Yeah, we love your look. Come out to LA." So we come out to LA, and we called him up, and he's like, "You guys actually came out to LA, like all three of you?" We're like, "Yeah, you said you'd help us out. We need a place to stay." And he was like, "Well, you can't stay at my places. The floors are getting remodeled. I'm staying at a client's mother's house." And we're like, "Cool, we'll stay with you there." So it was Heather Tom's mom. Heather Tom's mom let us stay at her place. 3 random people she never met, plus the manager, sleeping on inflatable beds in Pasadena. And we did that for a few nights, and then we were like, "All right, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here." Yeah.
Wow.
I think this is the best coming out to LA story I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it gets better. And then we finally found an apartment in the valley over here in Sherman Oaks.
Nice.
And my buddy, they had management. They were with Simmons and Scott. And so I didn't have management, and I was hoping to maybe piggyback and get into rooms and stuff like that. But I still had my mother agent in Ohio who would set up meetings and things like that. But they were with Simmons and Scott, and some of the Simmons and Scott actors needed a place to stay, so they ended up living with us eventually. So there were 7 of us in the 2-bedroom apartment. It was me.
Wow.
At one point, it was Chris Zilka, who's acting on The Leftovers.
Classic Chris.
Classic Chris. He's got stories.
Well, Chris is here. He's actually coming soon.
Chris, I think somebody said he's engaged or married to Paris Hilton now.
Cool.
That's Chris. Jesse Plemons, who's on Friday Night Lights, Breaking Bad.
Oh, nice.
The Master and stuff like that. And a few other people. So 7 actors in a 2-bedroom.
Wow.
It was, yeah.
I'm not surprised a lot of you went on to keep on working then. There's something special about that where maybe it's cosmic divinity or something, I don't know, in fate, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of times that happens, you know what I mean? Where you get these group of people, like-minded individuals, and then they go on to do great things. And then the opposite side of that happens as well, which I think is the majority of stories is you kind of,
Yeah.
vibe with your community, I should say. Or you grow with your community or don't grow with your community. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there were some who found their path and some who's still searching out of that group.
Oh, really? Okay, not all of you went on. It seemed like you said like everybody seemed to go on and do great things.
There were 7 of us, so, half of us kind of kept working.
Oh,
the other half were still sort of, one went and got married and moved back to Iowa.
Okay.
That was one thing he realized it wasn't quite for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah.
We got to have some really great conversations on set, and that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show was you're very open about your insecurities because as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciated that. You know what I mean? Because you come across as, you know, good looking, male, very confident and everything. And then when you were sharing with me like your insecurities as an actor, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a genuine human being. You know, he's not just like portraying this archetypical role he's always going out for. You know what I mean, man?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really appreciate that about you. And that's something I'd like to kind of delve into more. How do you, first of all, what are some of your insecurities as an actor, and what are you doing to overcome them?
Oh, the insecurities have changed over the time. One was just first insecurities was finding value in what I actually have. Like, what do I have to offer? It's, you know, it's one thing when you come out here, it's like you fit a stereotype. And, you know, before when I moved out here, they were like, you're a nice guy, but we're not sure if you're black enough, street enough, or we're not sure if you're this or that. And, you know, to see yourself through somebody else's eyes puts a lot of power in their hands. And so I had to kind of take that back and assess who I am based off, you know, just my history. And to delve in and look to that is very humbling, because you got to be honest with what you see. And when I looked at it, I was actually, you know, it actually boosted my confidence, because I said, you know, I had worked hard. I was a college athlete. But before that, you know, I placed in the state meet in high school, you know, made the honor roll, did these things that I could be proud of, that gave me character and helped me push past those sort of attacks on my character, in a sense, if that makes sense. So first was the insecurity was just looking at myself, just assessing what it is that I could actually bring of value to acting.
Wow.
You know, because you could always get someone who's street, or someone who's black, or someone who's the nice guy, or this or that. But then I had to go, well, what makes me, why would someone pay me? Why would someone hire me? You know, because before that you do modeling and they just go, oh, your look and maybe a little bit of your personality. This will help us sell this thing. So great. You saw 50 people come in and you picked me. I feel special, you know, but one day you might not pick me. So then what do I have to bring of value? And even looking at modeling, it was something that I still pulled something out of that. I go, well, I did a certain type of modeling. I did lifestyle. And with that, it was about connecting with people, you know, sort of creating the scene so it seemed very real in just one still photo. And so it was like, okay, I know I can connect with people and bring that. But as far as like insecurities for, I mean, you and I, we talked about like a friend had asked me, you know, and I asked her, what's your biggest insecurity? What are you most afraid of in acting? She said, you know, just forgetting my lines. And she turned and asked me, well, what's your insecurity? And I was like, you know what? Not having it, whatever it is. Yeah. And I said, you know, right after that, I was on set for Passengers, and Jennifer Lawrence was doing her big scene where she finds out that she was lied to, and it was just so visceral. And I think it's like that moment that you were talking about when you were doing Hamlet, right? It's this moment, it's so visceral, and it gives you this confidence. And you're like, okay, that's what it feels like. I got it. It's like if a basketball player takes 100 shots and they miss, you know, 90 of them, but they made 10. They're going to go look at the 10 that they made and go, okay, I was doing something right. But they wouldn't overlook that and go, I'm a complete failure because I missed 90. You know what I mean? So I see Jennifer Lawrence do this scene, and I'm thinking, like, okay, she's clearly got it. She's been validated in the industry. But because it was so visceral and I felt so affected by it, I was like, I know that feeling. I've done that in acting class. I've done that in other moments. I just haven't really brought it to the screen. You know, I hadn't really used it in a character, but I'm like, now I have this tool and I see how she uses it. Now and now it's like, okay, I know I have it. But that was a tough thing to face, to be on set and to watch her work and to associate with it. She's an actor. I'm an actor. I didn't look at it as she's Jennifer Lawrence. I'm just me over here. I'm like, no, we're kind of one and the same. You know, I'm gonna put myself in her shoes and kind of feel it out, because at that time I was on the originals and already had experience.
Right.
And yeah, that was one of the insecurities in overcoming. But like I said, there's been many, as far as like, what do I think about fame? What do I think about people coming up to me on the streets? And before, I used to think it was like you're like a zombie, or like it's a zombie movie and you're the only one alive, and it's like The Walking Dead, and people will be attracted to you. You know, personal, I try to keep it private. And I didn't know how I even felt about people approaching me on the street, because I'm like, what if I'm having a bad day?
Yeah.
And then you got to read, and in today's world, then you got to read about it, or an interaction, or somebody could tweet about you. But then I thought about it. I was like, no, I'm a good person. My parents raised me right.
Yeah.
That's not true. It's not The Walking Dead. I'm not out there being attacked. People approach me with love. They're not trying to eat my brains. No. So I was like, what am I thinking? Like, what is this insecurity? But yeah, there have been many, as I'm sure you've had to face.
Absolutely. I think one of something that I feel like I've overcome now completely. And it's funny because I did a lot of improv in high school and in college, and it taught me how to just make a choice. You know what I mean? Be bold. Make a choice. Don't just kind of half-ass it, or make a choice. If it fails, it fails. You know? Start learning to just go out there and just go for it. And without worrying about, oh, what if they don't think it's funny? Or what if it's not funny? You know, because that kind of hinders you at the same time. So it was a lot about like validation from the audience. I wanted that because I loved that feeling, especially when I first started performing. I felt like there was a natural talent with it, you know what I mean? But whenever I wouldn't get it, I'd be like, oh, that was a bad show. That I didn't feel the audience was validating me on stage. And then with time and experience, I realized, oh, that's not the point. It's not to feel validated. It's to live truthfully in the moment and have a connection with the other human being. The validation is a byproduct of that. Does that make sense?
It does. I was listening to Kobe Bryant talk in a recent interview. He's got a book coming out, and he was talking. They said, "What's the biggest challenge now post basketball?" He's like, "The crowd isn't there. There's no one cheering him on. You can't feed off that energy. So he's just doing work, and." He did this animated series, and then he puts it out there, but he doesn't know if people are clapping or cheering these moments. He just makes it and puts it out there.
I'll tell you this though, I get that, feeding off the crowd, and like with TV work, the only crowd is the crew, and sometimes the director, not sometimes, it's always the director and the producers who are like behind the screen somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Here's something I like doing without wanting their validation, but giving that performance aspect. Our court days, whenever all those extras are there, I like that. It feels like you are putting on a show, especially within the framing device of a lawyer presenting a case. So that's where I'm like, oh, cool, this is a little bit like theater now, because I'm trying to convince. That could have been bad. I'm trying to convince the jury. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make sure that my boss sees that I'm doing a good job and I'm really committed to this. So it's a little bit of that performance aspect that I like, that you can kind of feed off that in terms of.
Yeah, and that's a big insecurity for people is, public speaking, right? To be an actor, some people think, oh, it's private, but that's something you really have to face, because for me, doing the originals, one of my first scenes was this execution scene in front of this crowd. And so, there's this thinking of, what if it goes wrong? What if I'm not memorized? What if I drop a line? Do I know what I'm doing? I'm going to be. You're so vulnerable. You're out there and you're exposed. But it says something about your character that you look at that as a positive challenge, as something you can rise up to.
Well, to overcome that, I've learned you put in the work beforehand. You stay up the night before, or you keep working on it so that you literally can say it backwards. Or you're in the shower, boom, I can go through the monologue again. Or you're driving, you can go through the monologue at any place, anytime. So then you're like, okay, come on. I've been practicing all week. I know this. I just need to feel it and focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the part that's missing from a lot of actors is, Are you going to class? Are you working every day? How much acting are you doing every day? How much acting are you doing in the week? What are you doing? What are you studying? Are you working with other actors? What is your specific goals? These things are missing in a lot of professional actors' lives, and people who want to become professional actors to make it a living for them. And then again, that like what we talked about before, why I started my previous podcast, Actors Anonymous, was because of that. I noticed so many actors falling into this freaking negative spiral.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, in deciding to become an actor, you got to decide what kind of actor am I going to become, and you start to see how people's work ethic affects their performance. But also that work ethic comes from dealing with anxiety. I think it was like Robert Downey Jr. that was talking about that. He goes, any sense of anxiety about the work coming up, which it might be 3 days away, it's a good indicator you're just not fully prepared, because you know what it's like to be prepared, and you know what it's like to rock it. And with some actors, my teacher would talk about this, that if you don't sort of humble yourself and prepare, you can allow yourself to think that you're special, and that you were chosen, because you look the part, or you just are it. But that's not necessarily true. Like, it takes work. And with other actors that I talk to, and I see them work, one of the things I'll compliment them on when we come off stage or something like that, I'll just go, hey, I see your choices. I see how much work you put into it. I know that the way you did that, you must have been rehearsing at night. And they'll go, oh, thank you. Thank you for noticing that I work hard, that I'm not just born from the head of Zeus perfect.
No.
And I think, that's one thing that we're talking about out there, is to fill people in on is, that it is work, that where it comes from, that we're also just sort of going into the fire of our sort of insecurities or lack of preparation. And to prepare for a scene like that means you have to say to yourself, well, I'm not ready. I'm not quite adequate to perform this. So let's begin the work.
You know who's wonderful at allowing an actor to discover a scene is Tom Verica.
Yeah.
And I know you've only gotten to work with him as a director once.
Just at once.
So he allows actors to work. You know what I mean? And it helped me overcome this insecurity in a nice way, where we were doing a walk and talk scene outside of the 2nd District Court in New York City. And he's like, let's feel out the scene. It was like for the first episode. And I'm like, I feel the need to like stop and talk to them. Can we try that? He's like, yeah, of course we can try that. And we did it. He's like, the energy feels like you guys would just keep on walking. It feels weird for it to stop. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's so true. And it feels so right in your head. And you're like, no, it feels right to sit and stop. But then you look at the whole arc of the scene, the show. You're like, oh, that just seems weird just to stop there. It stops the whole flow of everything.
Yeah. And
I really appreciate Tom and some of the other directors we've worked with who allow that kind of discovery of the scene to happen.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's something that's empowering. I had the opportunity to direct a couple episodes on the originals. And so
nice.
I would shadow a lot and look at it from that perspective. And a great thing working with Bethany Rooney, she also runs the WB Directors Program, co-runs it to, help and educate and get people online and get them jobs in directing. And she literally wrote a book, a book about directing. And what I watched was in those moments where the actors come in and they have those ideas and they're like, I think it'd be like this, or wouldn't it be cool if I do this? And she'd be like, okay, try it. And then, watch. And then she would watch the body language or the behavior. And at one time I was doing a scene where I walked over and she goes, you want to sit? I was like, yes. She goes, I could tell the way you sort of sat back. And so when I was directing, I was directing Summer, I believe her last name is Fontana. Summer Fontana. She'll be the new X-Men. She plays a little Jean Grey in the Phoenix. And I love X-Men.
Okay, we're going to talk about that.
But, I was in the scene with Summer, and it was a scene where we were concerned about because she had to get angry. And so there's also a salt circle that as a witch she can't approach, right? So she's got this little space and she's got to be angry. And to be angry, I'm thinking she's got to take up space and get bigger. And so, she's saying this stuff and she's putting her hand forward and she's leaning forward. And I go, Summer, you see what you want to do right there? how you want to move forward. You want to take up more space. I go, do it. I go, Summer, you ever watch The Incredible Hulk? She's like, yeah, you know when he gets angry, he gets bigger? I was like, yes. I was like, do that. She's like, I understand. And,
I understand.
yeah. And so there's things that we want to do, and while we're feeling it out, but yeah, we don't want to mess, there's many things we don't want to mess it up. We're feeling it out for ourselves. We don't want to look silly. So to have someone there that can watch you try things out and then encourage you and then just see naturally what it is that you want to do. And what I think it comes down to is they give you permission.
Yes.
They give you permission to, it's like when a kid's learning to walk, you don't need to correct them or anything. Like, they're going to figure it out. And I love this example. They're like, there's nobody that's just like not learned how to walk. It's like you meet some adult and you're like, hey man, what's wrong with you? Why don't you move off the ground? Why are you crawling around? I gave up on walking. My parents, like,
yeah,
they just have permission to try it out and figure it out until they get it. We would never give up on them. And I think sometimes things get stunted where a director might be like, no, that's not what we need to do. This is the show. And then as an actor, you're like, oh man, fuck that dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a puppet. And you're just gonna, and then, like, there's that resistance there. So to have someone that allows you permission, and you're like, you understand that.
And it destroys the insecurity of wanting to try things, because I think that's part of the most actors, I would believe, is there's this curious nature, like this exploration to the character, to the scene, especially with TV acting. Sometimes it's the first time you're in this space with this actor. Maybe obviously with a series regular role or recurring, you're probably using the same spaces over and over, but it's never in the exact same way. You know what I mean? Very rarely is it like that. Even there are times where we're at the conference table. That always change it up. Like where we're sitting, even if it's a little bit, and depending on what the scene is, there's a different vibe to it, and it's really cool, man. X-Men. I'm kidding. Who's your favorite character, though?
Wolverine.
Classic.
Wolverine.
Classic.
Yeah. Wolverine, Rogue, Gambit. They're coming out with a Gambit movie. Hopefully, I think they're in pre-production. Channing Tatum is going to play Gambit. Was one of the first comic books I ever got.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, it's been in like development hell for like 5 years now, I feel like.
Wow.
Yeah, things got pushed back, I think, with Avengers and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think he's I mean, I didn't read the comic books, but he was more, I don't know, he just seemed a lot cooler in the comic book than what's been portrayed about him on the screen.
Well, in the comic book, he also wore that outfit. It was like a onesie thing. It was a leotard. He had on, if you look at it, it's this leotard thing and and then he wore the trench coat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little odd. But
No judging.
No judging. No judging. He had a lot of other cool qualities, though.
I mean, the old Wolverine, he wore that yellow jumpsuit that was not too flattering.
No, it would have
Get
had
into
flair. I know. What did that dude think? To be that guy, he's like, all right, he's got these claws. And then he's like, hold on, before I go and do all that, I need to put on my leotard.
It allows me to move.
No wonder he's so angry. Smoking a cigar in that leotard.
You know what a jumper is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, when women wear them, they have to take it all off to go to the bathroom. How ridiculous do you feel doing that? Like, this is a hassle.
I knew I should have got the two-piece. Why did I?
Right?
But now it's my thing. Now people, it's my calling card.
You just finished Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules. What is it?
12 Rules
for Life.
For life, yeah. An anecdote to chaos. Yeah.
Any big takeaways you can take from that? Because I'm about to start it after I finish Dichotomy of Leadership. This is Jocko's and Leif's new book on extreme ownership. So I want to start that after I finish.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they complement each other well. Big takeaway, talking a little bit about this, suffering. The way he frames suffering, that all life is suffering, is something you hear in Buddhist context. But then what do you do? Try to alleviate some of that suffering. But he's even saying start at the home. A lot of people have sort of a Superman complex, and they want to change the world. And before they do that, he's saying, you got to get your house in order. Like, how's your relationship with your family? Can you help alleviate some of that suffering? How's your relationship with your friends? How are you just showing up at work? You know, and that's a worthy cause. You know, that has an effect on people. So that was a big takeaway. But yeah, each chapter had its big main idea, and then from that, other things to pull that I just really found useful. One was that everyone's suffering, everyone's going through something, you know, that they're dealing with, whether it's health issues, mental health, things going on with the family. And I was thinking about this because I'm going to give the commencement speech at my high school that I graduated from in Ohio. And I'm like, well, what am I going to say to these kids? You know, like go out there and serve. And I was thinking, I was like, you know what? It's just a great feat that they made it this far, that they graduated. You know, that they didn't know it, but when they came to school, just as like when we come to set, we don't really know what everyone's going through. You know, it's like somebody's father had died. You know, our script supervisor just heard it in talking, and it's kind of like, and you're here. And when I was on the original, somebody had said, it was Daisha, she was did our casting, extras casting, and she wrote this nice email to me afterwards to pass along to everyone. She goes, I just wanted you guys to know that you guys were my family through the time. It's gonna make me emotional. And she goes, there were a lot of deaths in my family. There's some really dark times, but coming to work was a light, and I just appreciate you guys for showing up. And it's just like, we didn't know that we were helping to alleviate someone's suffering. Also because we were going through our own, but we were handling it. And it just makes me, you know, and I think for me, that's one thing to express to those high school kids that, you know, sure, they're going through the motions. They're going through high school, they're graduating, they're looking to move forward. But what they don't know is they probably really have had a profound effect on each other, because they were all suffering. They just never brought it. I'm sure they've gone through divorce. I'm sure they had health issues. I'm sure they were struggling with depression, bullying, things like that. And the fact that they made it through 4 years of that and then get to graduate, it's like, look at each other, take each other in, you know, hug each other, whatever it is, you made it. And so, yeah, that was a big take. I think that was like his chapter 2. He was talking about suffering and all that. And, you know, just helps to really put things into context, I think, in today's world where, you know, we're just so, especially here in America, focused on success and
Right.
striving, and, you know, kind of got to bring it back to, you know, what is it all for, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's to help to alleviate the suffering, the people around you, you know?
How do you deal with, you have anxiety? Or did you ever have anxiety? Because we don't have to talk about the reasons for that anxiety, but I'm always curious to know what people do when they encounter it, you know?
For me, I'm competitive, and I relate to this story, and I'm going to talk sideways and then bring it back. But Kobe Bryant tells a story about how Allen Iverson had scored like 30-something points on him, and the way it made him feel, and that he wanted the assignment of guarding Allen Iverson. So what I found interesting was he said that he went back to the hotel room and he was breaking furniture. Like Kobe Bryant was so pissed off about it. And then he set out to find out ways of how to shut down Allen Iverson, and it sent him to studying sharks and hunting seals. And so he's like, okay, Allen Iverson is kind of like the seal, and I'm the shark. You got to find different angles of attack. And then he goes, but later he's like, I'm just mad at the fact, he goes, I just don't want this to happen again. I'm mad at the fact that Allen Iverson triggered this thing in me that made me realize I had this, you know, this sort of this reaction to it. So for me, when I feel that anxiety or I get the feedback that something's not right, I get a bit frustrated, I get angry, then I get aggressive, and then I seek to tackle it. It's like I'm just stubborn. I'm just stubborn because I don't do well, and I don't do um, self pity. I think that's a burden for too long. I could, you feel the disappointment of it, but after that, you got to pick yourself up. It was like my personal experience with it. I was in high school, and it was a state meet, a regional meet, and the coaches at the college at Miami University where I went said if you can get sixth place in the state meet, you can get a scholarship. I had two events, the 110 hurdles and the 300 hurdles. Mm-hmm. The 110 hurdles was first. In that regional event, I came out and I was in front, and I clipped a hurdle, and it threw my step off. And I started to watch everyone. I was in the far left lane. I started to watch everyone on the right start to pull ahead, and the top four advance. And I was counting while I'm running. 1, there's a guy. 2, all right. 3, 4, I'm in 5th place. And I crossed the finish line, and it was in a stadium at UD in front of a whole group of people. And I was like, I just laid my head down at the finish line in the fetal position. And I was like, I just didn't want to move until somebody was like, hey, you got to get up. They're going to run the next race. I was just like so defeated. And I had this moment in between the 110 hurdles and the 300 hurdles where I was just like, I give up. I was like, my parents can't afford college. Like, I'm not going to get the scholarship. I'm not even going to be able to make the team. Like, what am I going to do? And I just remember I just let it all sort of wash away. But also what was behind that was all the pressure I was putting on myself too. And I was just like, I give up trying to push so hard, to be so tough, and to try to control everything. And I just gave up. And actually, I was just so carefree that the next race I actually ran at a second faster. Normally in 300 hurdles, I ran like a 39.5. That race, I ran a 38.5. And that was the fastest I ever ran in my life. So I dropped a second off my time in that race, and I ended up moving on, and I actually did get 6th place in the state meet. But the funny joke was the guy who got 5th was also going to Miami, so he got the scholarship. So when I got to college, I found out I still had to walk on. And my best chance of getting a scholarship was to do the decathlon, which was 10 events. So I had to learn 10 more events. So from that, I still had even more to do. So I had this understanding that in life, like disappointment with acting, when I wasn't booking jobs, I was just like, I remember I went in to go test for the following, and I didn't get it. And I just like went in the car and I cried about it, and called a friend up and was like, hey, what do you do in this scenario? Like, because one of my friends, Rose Rollins, she'd been acting, and I was like, how do you cope with this? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna be better. And
how did she say to cope with it, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, just be real with it, deal with it. It's a fact of life. It pretty much was the basis of it. It's just it's a fact of life, And there's something in that suffering that makes you think, you're so special. And it's like, no. This is what people deal with, and people have overcome it before, and people will overcome it after you. And I think that's part of for us speaking. It's a situation that feels unique to us in the moment, but it is not unique in the world. And in those moments of that anxiety or that fear or that self-pity and doubt, it's just like, okay, I'm going to deal with that. Now I'm going to get that fire back in my belly, and I'm going to address those areas of weakness. I'm going to address those areas mentally. I'm going to address those areas physically or technically. And I'm going to realize that I could be better, or that also I might just have to relax. Like in that example with running track, I just needed to relax. How could I run but be so tight and so tense mentally and physically? Where running is a fluid motion. The body's really got to be in harmony. And here I was running for my scholarship, and I was just so tense and then beating myself up. And what I realized was I can't do that.
Right.
Like I can't be so tough on myself. Yeah.
That's a very I rarely hear that kind of tactic in defeating self-pity or anxiety or depression. in terms of relaxing, a type of submission almost
Yes.
to the reality of your given circumstances, to the things that are out of your control. It's very difficult, especially with, I think, any type of artist, especially actors in the moment. It's like, hey, in like an acting class, you've heard it probably a million times. You need to relax. You're too tense on stage. It's like, well, how can I relax now? Because I'm trying to think about relaxing, and I feel like I'm making a fool of myself on stage, and now all my insecurities are coming up. Great, now I'm gonna relax. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the common path to take.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's such a simple thing. It's just let it go. Let go of expectation.
Yeah. There's a lot tied to that. Even with that story, I can imagine it and put myself in your scenario, what it's been like for me to be on stage and have somebody say these things because you're in it. And that's the thing. It's like, that's good feedback. The way I look at it, it's like fighting the dragon. You're doing battle. You're on stage. You're doing battle with a dragon. Somebody's going, hey, just relax. You're like, how could I relax? This thing is breathing fire. What are you talking about? And there's a feeling of death, though, when you're on stage. But what really is you're not going to die. Like, with running that event, I wasn't going to die. Life was going to continue. But how was I going to change and move forward? And that's one of the things. It's like, go and fight the dragon in its own cave when it's not at your doorstep and when it's not at your castle trying to breathe fire and eat you alive. So it's like, okay, now you leave acting class or now you leave the stage and you can reflect on that because you're not dead.
Right.
And you can go, that's what I need to do. I think that's one of the great things about video games. You go, you battle the boss, you see what didn't work, but while you're in it, it's so intense. You're cramming the buttons, the thing, you're getting feedback right then and there, and then it's like, bom, 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 you lose, game over, restart, and you're like, okay, but I'm going to do some things differently now. I've learned something. And so it's like, all right, now let me mentally kind of attack the dragon, this little dragon. Now let me mentally attack the dragon and think about what would I do in this scenario? What was I lacking? Oh, I needed that power up. Oh, I needed to add that skill.
Yeah.
Okay, that's humbling. Okay. All right, now let me go back and do battle against the dragon. And it's a transformative, transformational process. If you're willing to look at it, to relax. Right. But otherwise, you might be like, I'm jumping back in. It's like as soon as the game's over, you're like, start, jump back in. And you're like, whoa, you haven't learned anything. Slow down. What's the rush?
A lot of fighters, you'll notice. I don't know if you watch a lot of boxing, or UFC. Okay, great.
Oh yeah.
By the way, you are invited to Michael as well. More than likely, that's not a proper invite, but holding a guy's fight night for October 6th.
Yeah.
Khabib,
McGregor. Yeah.
McGregor.
Boxing is dead to me.
Oh, good, because
I'm
it's
just
mixed
kidding.
martial art.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just.
What'd you get some money on the Triple G fight or what?
No, actually, my boss he reps Triple G.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, yeah.
The first one, he definitely got robbed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen you this upset. Your eyes have fire in them, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness.
I just nah.
It's personal. This is close
Michael's
to home.
like, switch subjects.
I know. The hands went up.
The hands come up.
No.
Nope, don't want to talk about.
Walls up.
All right, well. No, but, with a lot of fighters especially, like some of the best fighters look so relaxed.
Yeah.
In the ring, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you can tell when fighters tensed up, you're like, ooh, they're going to get tired quick.
Yeah.
A lot of amateur fighters especially, you notice they're really like,
Yeah. That's something they do to themselves. I think you can learn. I learned a lot about acting by correlating it to sports. And I think you can learn a lot from that they're both sort of these art forms. And if you really, really observe and really look at it, you can pull something from it to use. Yeah.
What's a common question I hear from like new actors is, well, how do I get an agent? How do I book a job? And you know what I mean? I'm like, cool. Real quick, before I answer that question, are you in a class right now? Are you studying? No. Well, what are you doing then to continuously be better? Because let's say you do get the agent or the manager,
right? And
you go out on somehow they get you an audition, and you don't do good. You just ruined that opportunity, and they give you another one, and you didn't do good again. I mean,
That's a good point. Yeah. Once you get an opportunity, you really don't want to fuck it up.
No, so
Can I cuss on here?
No, you're fine.
oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we can cuss there. It's fine.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the training aspect, that's why I bring it up, because I correlate the same thing a lot with fighting, martial arts, like war strategies with acting. It really is. So it's like, well, what are you doing to train then? That's my biggest thing. That's where I found the most, and I can only speak from my circumstances. That's where I began to see extreme amounts of success, extreme improvements in my career, and my overall attitude is when I was like really buckling down on training, on practicing every single day, going to class once a week, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's purpose in it. I read Michael Jordan's biography, and one thing that I found a lot of things real interesting, but they said like Jordan loved practice. But he said he loved practice because that's where the creativity actually happens. So the things that he does in the game are things that he actually learned in practice, but he would practice so hard. And I think that's that kind of mindset where if you were for someone to ask that question before, you would hope that they would reflect and go, okay, what do I do to get an agent? All right, let's say I get an agent. Then what? What do I have to offer? What do I have to present? Okay, then what? And for me, one of the things that helped with my career, I was like, okay, I want to book the job, but then what? What's the goal? I was like, I want to be, okay, so if the goal is I'm going to be a series regular, then I should approach it as if I'm a series regular. Well, what would a series regular do? So they're getting paid a lot of money to show up and say these lines. And I was like, as soon as I get an audition, I can't go to the gym for 2 hours and do my normal workout. I can't go do this. Like, I should treat it like I'm already a series regular and prepare. Okay, so then what else would they do? They would run lines. What else could I do if I was series regular and I had the fun? Oh, I'd maybe hire somebody. Okay, well, I can't afford to do that, but let me call a reliable friend to hold me accountable. And then I'm going, already I'm doing more than the next guy. And
doing more than 80% of the people in the room.
Yeah, and that's going to show. And they're having a casting because they don't know who they want, or else they would have made an offer, right? So it's like,
yeah, well, most of the time.
Yeah, mostly, yeah, exactly, most of the time. But even in that scenario, I'm still getting an opportunity. So let's say they made an offer. What could I do? I could show them how hard I work and the fact that I'm already at the level of a series regular. So the next time something pops up, they're going to go, this person's right for it. And then they're going to take pride that they found this person. And then that gives them purpose. Because what does casting want to do? They want to know that they have affected someone's career and that someone has inspired others and has solved a creative person's problem. And when you start thinking like this, then you really start to look at the world and see the world differently, where things now have different value. So like I said, going to the gym, great for your body, but now in this context, maybe keep it at a half hour. And maybe while you're there on the treadmill, look over your lines, because it's good to learn lines and move.
Well, it's prioritize and execute. I mean, at that point in time, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that vision, that's what I love. It's like, I'll read the Bible. It's like Genesis. It's like God sat in darkness and then said, let there be light. Created light and saw that it was good. So he actually looked at what he was creating and then moved forward. And I think that's something that people can do while you're not facing the dragon. Like, sit and imagine, what is it that you want to try to create? But you got to be kind of comfortable in that space. That's what I love. It's like most people aren't really comfortable sitting in nothingness and darkness, but you got to put yourself in, reflect. And, that's why I think it's, in the Bible, in certain stories where Jesus or Buddha will go and meditate, sit under a tree. There's value in that, to sit and imagine and create this world, and then think about how you're going to navigate through it and see the results. Was that good? Okay, then I'll continue to do that. Or what about, let's look over here. And it's in a way you're creating your character. And again, you're finding different value for things. And that's the thing that for me, I want to share with people. It's like, that's what changed my life. It's that simple. It wasn't like, what agent did you get? I had a small agent that actually got in trouble for embezzling. Yeah. And I wasn't with the UTA or CA when I got on the originals. yeah, I feel like it was the work that I did alone on myself, and just facing myself, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really important also for actors and all artists to realize that there's more to life than acting.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
One of
Mm.
one of the best parts of I highly recommend reading The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle.
Mm.
Talks about how and why certain groups are super successful. Groups of like communities. And one of them was you might want to help me out on this because I think I mentioned it on the show, is a basketball team. Was it the Spurs? They have that crazy coach.
Popovich.
Yeah, Popovich. Yeah. And they were talking about his style of coaching. And again, I don't watch basketball or like a lot of team sports, but he would talk to his players a lot about life, about things that are going on in the world, about Syria, about the economic crisis in Japan, and you know what I mean? Like all these worldly things going on during their dinners. And very rarely would they talk basketball. And he wanted to show them that there is more to life than this. And by showing them that, there are certain things that can parallel to basketball. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And realizing that, oh my gosh, there's more to, you know, that slip up. I'm not going to like make a big deal about it or like lose myself over it and then F up the whole game. No, you gather yourself after a mistake. You know what I mean? There's like little lessons to learn from that. Now, there are times when he would get really passionate about, you know, the game, but he found that balance with his players. And I feel a lot of actors, they lose that perspective. A lot of people in general too, that there's more to this world than your problems, than your life, than your career. And yeah, man, I think that's super crucial for everybody to realize. It sucks because not everybody has the opportunity to go travel the world or go, you know, experience things that are not in their own country.
Right. But I think that the thing you touch on is that curiosity. That curiosity allows you to engage in the world, and again to find value out of things. Current topics. Popovich is using current topics to form bonds.
Yeah.
So we're not just coworkers, but we have a bond. I know what you think about this. I know a bit more about your character because we're talking about this. So now it's like we're family, you know, and that's something that, you know, to enter in that kind of relationship, it's something special. So when you look at, you know, you talk about the value of things, especially as an actor over, you know, if it's just about acting in your career, you know. You
know what fascinates me? I love learning about like underground subcultures or like gang culture. Gang culture's core value and principles, they're actually like good, like, hey, you never turn your back on your brother. You know what I mean? Which you're like, oh yeah, that's they're like mostly
snitches get stitches.
Well, no, but like some of it's actually like almost inherently good principles just wrapped in a bad rapping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so interesting to me. Like, I don't know. I find that so, I don't know. I just want to learn more about it because they have this very limited perspective or this very special perspective on the world they live in, you know?
Yeah.
Like their block. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some gangs. So, I don't know. That's always interesting to learn about how people view the world, why people do certain things the way they do it. Helps me as an actor always because you're always trying to figure out, okay, why is my character doing this?
Yeah.
So you apply those questions to real people, and then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's more human too. Like it helps you identify with gang culture, which would seem so outside of your world and you. But you know, you're observing it, and then there's that curiosity about it. Yeah.
What do you like? What do you get curious about other than acting stuff? Are you into any conspiracy theories?
Are you? No.
Like the Vatican archives?
I don't know anything about the Vatican. I've been to the Vatican.
Do you believe in aliens?
Nah, I haven't really put much thought into it.
Okay,
I'm a big fan of X-Files.
Okay.
I believe David Duchovny believes.
All right.
and aliens.
Acting aside, Charles.
I can't. That's all I think about. Do I believe? You know what? I used to live in Dayton, Ohio, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base,
Okay.
and there's the thought that they actually stored an alien there before they moved it to Roswell because of the military, and no one would think to find an alien in Dayton, Ohio.
How about Bigfoot?
No,
No,
I don't think so.
No.
I think we would have found him.
I don't know. Maybe not.
Maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
On what?
Bigfoot, Loch Ness
Bigfoot.
monster.
Loch Ness. I think the ocean and just large bodies of water. We're still discovering new species in there. I'm not surprised if there's like some gigantic.
Some dinosaur type thing.
Yeah, that's just not evolved. Like, look at sharks. They haven't really evolved in like millions of years. They haven't really changed that much.
Yeah.
Megalodon.
Yeah, like
Megalodon.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But what's he doing? Are there other megalodons? Like, he's got to be bored out of his mind. He or she.
It's true.
And they can't mate. Like, so what are they doing?
Maybe they don't care about mating.
They scared about just eating kelp or sharks.
Well, in the movie, The Meg.
Bring it back.
I don't know, man. I honestly don't know about Bigfoot, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is some like ape type creature. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think 99% of Bigfoot stories are embellished or mistaken for bears because bears can walk on their hind legs and it can seem like, oh shoot, that's like a Bigfoot.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever see like a gorilla at the zoo walk on its hind legs?
No, I haven't been to the zoo in a long time.
Okay. That's pretty freaky to watch.
Yeah.
It almost looks like there's a dude in that, like a costume,
Mm.
like doing that. And you're like, that's not safe.
What about the pyramids?
What about him?
Do you think aliens built the
No,
pyramids?
I think they were built a long time ago by some extremely wise people whose technologies and philosophies were just lost throughout the ages. I think they had to do something with frequencies and vibrations, and as granola as that sound, like I think it has a lot to do with that kind of stuff. Because now, I'll tell you a great story I've told on the podcast before, which made my eyes open a little bit to the possibility that there might be some type of lost science, lost spiritual or mental way of thinking that creates what we would think is magic. So, if I told you, I can make things float with sound, you'd be like, shut up. That's ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? So there was this explorer, British explorer, who went to somewhere in Tibet or Nepal, and he basically wrote in his diary that he saw these monks organized in a certain pattern, and they had instruments, and some of them were just vocalizing. There's a rock in front of them, and through their vocalizations and the playing of the instruments, a rock began to levitate in front of him. And you know, when first you hear about this, because the rock was like behind this wall, when you first hear about this, thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
When you first hear about this, you're like, okay, this is exaggerated. This is made up. There's no way that this is right. Recently, through, you know how sound waves like this, right?
Yeah.
So they've been messing with the frequencies and putting speakers in certain positions where they've actually been able to levitate an object with the actual sound waves itself. Because you ever like put your hand to like a bass speaker?
Oh, and it starts rumbling.
Yeah, you can feel it. And like the really extreme basses, you see in the girl's hair like just go crazy. So they've been able to manipulate that and control it enough to where, boom, Michael, would you do us the honors?
Let me see this. Oh, it's a big rock.
This is being levitated with sound waves. Isn't that nuts?
That is crazy. Yes.
Are you? Okay. So we know it's physically possible.
All right, we are getting hoverboards just like Back to the Future. It's happening.
Dude, in another 50 years, I would not be surprised.
I can't wait that long. I need to test one out now.
Okay, so do you know what I mean? Like it's possible within our physics. Does that make sense? Now, how do we control that and manipulate that with our science now? I mean, it'll
How
take
do we
some
sell
years.
that on Amazon?
Right.
That's the next question.
But I think back to the pyramids, there was some lost sciences, you know? I think the capability of the human mind is so extreme, and we have yet to even begin to pierce the veil of that.
What do you think the future is going to be like?
For the world,
Yeah.
it's bad.
Mad Max, you're going apocalypse.
I'm
thinking like Spielberg Minority Report or something like that.
I don't think it's good, man.
You don't think it's good?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Nope. Let's take the reality of the situation. We got rising sea levels, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You wait another, what is it, like 50, 75 years, say 100 years, some major cities, you're going to have a water problem.
Yeah, you better sell that condo in Miami if anybody out there's got one.
You in Malibu?
Malibu going down.
Florida, what is it?
All of Florida.
All of Florida.
All of Florida. And how long?
No, they have a problem with high tide now.
Parents should sell that house.
You know that,
in
right?
Orlando. Yeah. I was just over in Miami.
Oh.
Yeah.
Miami, they
yeah.
have a problem with high tide. Some legit, you're like, oh, that's
Miami
high tide
Beach
now floods.
Miami Beach is going down.
So think about that. And then if the temperature keeps rising, think of the amount of destruction and chaos that will eventually cause. I have a couple family members who work and live in Dubai. You know how hot it got? Over 115 degrees. And it's getting hotter and hotter. Would you mind looking up, Michael, the hottest temperature in Dubai this year?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, it was something 120.
I don't doubt. I was in Spokane, Washington. It was 107 when I was there a few weeks ago.
UAE weather. 50 degrees Celsius.
Which
Wow.
is
Which is
how hot in Fahrenheit? Because I hate that we're the only country that.
It does Fahrenheit.
All right, here we go.
Oh wait, no.
That
sorry.
can't be right.
My bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say because like 70.
122.
Okay.
Okay,
122 degrees.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna be unlivable soon.
Yeah.
And they have the humidity there. My uncle tells me summertime, most of the year, we don't go out.
We're gonna have to live in caves. We're gonna become mole people. I know a good cave in Belize.
Don't tell it on the show, man.
Damn it.
Damn it, Charles.
Well,
You're out of the group. You're out of the clan. Get out. the Mad
I
Max.
broke the first rule.
I know. We gotta have a group name if the end of the world happens, like a tribe name.
Yeah, we need to know where to meet up.
Yeah.
We need
Not
to know
Belize.
who's responsible. Yeah, we're definitely not going to Belize. Nobody else go there.
Do that,
The
but no, it does not
mountains.
look bright, honestly, for the future, for in my perspective,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And I know it's a little pessimistic. I think there has to be some divine apocalyptic reset button, honestly.
Yeah, I think we'll just have to like have that
Probably
moment
for the best.
where we all have to stop and reflect. You know, I love this site Academy of Ideas on YouTube, and they just came out with one talking about
okay.
passivity, and they were talking about going through the Industrial Revolution, created this society where we can afford to sort of be passive. So it's like before people used to just work all day,
Yeah.
just to survive. So now with the Industrial Revolution, now we have this free time, so it's like, well, what's the work for? Now that you can just hang out, but then you get bored, and then, that's when you get depressed and this and that. So it's like, I feel like with our free time, if people just stop buying things, passively consuming, just chill out for a second, and we all thought about what kind of world we want to live in, what's it going to look like, we might actually start taking measures to correct that. But I think in today's society where it's just like, the only thinking is YOLO, you need a break today, grab a cheeseburger, you deserve a vacation. It's kind of like, no, you deserve to sit down and think about what's going on in the world.
It's a common tactic done in many civilizations and many governments. You have the people distracted. You have them fighting with themselves, so they don't fight with you.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Bread and circus?
Yeah.
Bread and circus?
Yeah.
What's that?
It was like a Roman phrase, basically. It was like,
Ah.
you know, let me see if I can find it.
It's like gladiator.
Basically, keep them entertained with the gladiator,
keep them fed and entertained.
and fat. Keep them fat.
Yeah.
Like like with food and everything, full. Keep their bellies full and.
Yeah. Diet of entertainment or political policies on which the masses are fed to keep them happy and docile.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what? You know what drives me insane? The
Leotards.
majority of leotards.
Onesies.
I'm driving a campaign that's anti-leotard. I'm kidding.
No, what drives you insane?
The majority of people in this country all want the same thing: a decent job that pays well, a roof over their head, decent living, a great education for themselves or their children, and a safe future.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yet, I mean,
Well,
anyway.
I mean, yeah, I think it's one thing. It's crazy. It's like, I remember what it's like not to have a cell phone. And then I remember what it's like to get a cell phone and have that cell phone cost $20 a month.
Was it the brick Nokia?
Is it the gray one? The cellular one?
Yeah, I was talking about the blue one.
It wasn't like the Zach Morris.
No.
Really dating myself.
I had a
now.
Cricket one with a flashlight on it.
And that was a big thing, wasn't it?
It was, sir.
But now it's like this thing is, I pay 100. Yes, that thing. I remember that one. But now it's like you pay $130 for that. Rent is going up. You got car payments now. Some people have 2 cars. You got your television. You got all these things that are like necessities of life that.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know how we're all going to keep up.
I have friends who have trouble with that, and it's depressing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
especially in a big city like Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Not to mention, you know what? Even in small cities, it's still freaking hard to make.
If you make minimum wage, there is no city, county, state where you can afford a 2-bedroom apartment on minimum wage.
So tell me, doesn't that seem like the people in charge are wanting to do that for a reason? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it keeps them well fed and rich. And
I love how like trade tariffs only affect everybody else except the people who are implementing them. Does that make sense?
yeah.
I mean, I live in a house with 5 other people.
Uh-huh.
It's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. You know, I forgot to mention this, but actually, I think it was one of our questions earlier. Yeah, we've already talked about this. We had some listener questions, and they talked about like how do you deal with depression? You know what I mean? Or have you ever experienced it? And one of the things that's helped me is to count my blessings.
Mm-hmm.
And when you realize that, okay, I've got this, 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 and this. Yes, this part sucks, but I know so many people who don't have that. And if I start thinking about switching places with them, I wouldn't want to switch places with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I got to be thankful for what I have. And that feeling kind of dissipates. Maybe not 100%, but most of it goes away, you know? Anyway, real quick, before we wrap up, your experience on working on For the People so far. I'd love to hear about it.
Let's see.
Who's your favorite actor on the show?
Present company excluded?
No.
Yeah. Then it's you. That's what you really want to know.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Don't lie
Looking
to
for that.
don't lie to him.
Looking for that approval.
Yeah, it's me,
Who's my
right?
favorite?
Right, Charles? Oh my God,
Oh,
that's so
God,
insecure.
What's your biggest insecurity?
Not validation.
Well, okay. How's my experience been?
Yeah.
It's been good overall. You know, I've had the experience of being a regular on a couple other shows, and one is just great to live and work in LA. But I'll say everyone's really good people. Like we talked about this, like the way you guys handle and just sharing about personal lives and things like that, like the way you guys handle and reflect. It's no coincidence that we play lawyers and prosecutors, you know. And yeah, we have a good time. You guys all make me laugh.
Dude, we laugh so much.
I just like to sit back and watch you guys.
Oh
Like,
my gosh. And
you
like
crack me up, man.
Hope is starting to like laugh with us now. She's like, I can't fight it.
Yeah, it's a good time.
We buckle down when we need to,
Yes.
which is cool. But
Yeah.
sometimes, I mean, dude, we gotta let loose
Yeah,
on those long court days.
yeah. I have fun. I like, yeah. I miss. My last episode was all with Britt, and she cracks me up,
Oh.
and just the sound of her laugh, and it's like, now like I miss Britt. And the crazy thing is, we're on the public defender side, so I don't even get to do anything with Reggae and the two Bens and Susanna. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure they're just having a great time. Like
They're not.
they're not as much.
No, not as much as that.
Yeah, you should pull the crew. So, what days do you prefer, defenders or prosecutors?
Man.
But
No,
yeah,
it's a very great working environment.
yeah, it really is. You guys all come prepared. That's one of the things that I look for is that work ethic. And yeah, you guys all have theater backgrounds, and and so yeah, it's been a good time.
Do you like? I know, I'm not giving away anything, but like in the first episode you're in, you got a little bit of speeches in that one, right? Like some good chunk monologues. And
Oh yeah.
how do you feel about? You get excited when you see that on the page?
I do, especially because the show, there's a certain standard with Shondaland is, word perfect.
Yes.
And also the pace. And that's not something that I've gotten to do much of. Like the other show with the originals was slow and dramatic, and there was some heated, and there's some monologues, but it wasn't necessarily this driving pace. So yeah, in the first episode, I get to come out and Britt's character asked me this question, and I go into this monologue about, oh, you need my help? Okay, well, I think that would be helpful, what I just gave you right there. And then,
Yeah.
it was I don't know, I'm trying to think of an analogy about like how to put it, but it's kind of like it's like NASCAR or something. It's like difference in NASCAR and Indy, or Formula One, that there's a certain way of attacking the course. So this course, it's like it weaves. So I guess this would be more like Formula One. Is that the one with the cars that are real low to the ground, like in the movie Rush? Everything for me refers to a movie.
Okay.
But it's that. There's an endurance
Yeah.
and there's like that kind of racing. It feels like that for me.
Yeah.
It's just on the edge of control and chaos, and it's also an endurance kind of thing. So I really like those speeches and when weaving through.
Yeah. I feel for me it kind of varies a little bit with the director too that we have on.
How so?
Well, for instance, I notice some directors, they like to do the way they did give direction, for instance, and all of them have been great. Sometimes it's kind of like a roundabout way of getting you, the actor, to discover something. Sometimes it's a lot more direct. Sometimes it's the shot setup is very dynamic for the way it looks like on camera. There's a lot of camera movement, a lot of pull focus, and so it's very technical. And so that was one of my biggest obstacles overcoming in like the first season, especially whenever we'd have really technical days. Like, all right, let's really buckle down here and focus because I got to make sure this seems organic and I'm able to get what the director wants, but at the same time make it organic and come from a truthful place for me. So it's been a great experience and challenge at the same time.
Yeah, I like that aspect about television, that we can do a conference table scene, and like you said, it will maybe move us around, but personally there's something different to try to attack in it. And so somebody asked me about does it ever get boring and repetitive, and I say no. Like, I love the fact there's a format to it. It's like, yes, this is a conference scene, this is a summation, yes, this is exposition, but let me see if I can do something with it that I haven't done before, or let me see if I can get it closer to this thing of perfection before. So I look forward to getting that exposition scene or that. And then, okay, so you throw in a little bit of blocking. Okay, now that I've got that down, let me see if I can help the cameraman out. Like, are you going to pull focus here, there? Does it help when I move forward into the shot? Yeah, that hits frame. Hits the light,
Just yesterday when we were on the rooftop, I knew I had to say my line in between you and Jasmine. And so I'm seeing in the periph whenever Jasmine goes by, camera guy goes, now I got to say it. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it just takes experience to know.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, okay, I got to wait till Jasmine walks by. Otherwise, my line is going to be not heard or not seen on camera. And then they're going to have to do it again. And so it's like, no, just get it in. Just wait for it to happen there.
Yeah.
That's why you have to pay attention to what shots are happening. Sometimes I like to go to Video Village. Okay, is that the shot? Okay, what's going on? All right. Or go to the camera guys like, hey, how close are you actually in there? Or are you getting me at all in this shot? Okay, you're not. Okay, I don't want to give Charles anything then.
Well, how's that different than any other time? Oh, burn. But yeah.
That's all the time we have today. Oh, we didn't record the episode. Too bad. No, I'm kidding.
But yeah, you make a good point. Is that observation? You can like sit and watch second team rehearsal.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't do that.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So there's all these areas.
Okay. Good.
That's why I love. It's like sports. There's all these areas of improving your game. You know.
I like practicing my entrance into the scene a few times by myself, and that is probably one of my biggest things. That and the moment before. I need to figure out what we're doing the moment before, because I want my goal is every time I'm on screen, one of my goals, is I want there to be so much life coming into the screen, primarily because of the Jay character. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean I'm going to come on going, hey, what's up, guys? I'm Jay.
Slide in like Kramer.
Yeah. Definitely not. But there has to be this, you could tell Jay's been doing something before the scene has started. You know, you're coming in at a very specific time for a reason. So I like to try to think about it. And Hope's really good at this. We've talked about this on the show before with Britt and Jasmine and Hope herself. Like, she's really good at setting up that moment before. Yeah. For us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I want to pull and add to my game. Yeah.
It's been a very blessed experience, man.
I can't wait to see what else you come up with towards the end of the season now. We're almost halfway through.
Dude.
Only a few more episodes.
We're going to start 5 soon.
Yeah.
I hate when it's over. I hated when we ended last season.
Oh, really?
Because this has been the best project I've ever gotten to work on.
And now what's changed since last season and this season?
What do you mean?
I got you.
What's changed since last season and this season?
We got stronger as a group.
What maybe a new person, a character has been added into the chemistry, into the mix that has helped to enliven.
Yeah. We got a new stand-in, and he's been absolutely.
Actually, he is cool. Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Charles, man, it's absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
For the people and on this show. And we got to have you back on here at some point, too. Next year, whenever the show starts airing, I'm going to have a bunch of you guys back on.
Yeah.
So I'd like to actually do a group kind of thing. I think that'd be really fun. Have like a public defenders episode and then a prosecutors episode.
Maybe if we have the new studio by then.
Oh, I got so excited. I jumped. Yes. I haven't talked to Tom in a little bit, but as of now, by the end of the year, beginning of January, we might be getting a brand new studio.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm really supposed to say anything, but if we don't, I mean, it's all.
Maybe you should say something and really hold him accountable, Tom.
Tom's a great guy.
Get that new studio. I want to do. I'm coming for you, Tom.
Tom's like the nicest guy in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's super nice.
Well, hey, Tom, you know it would be great if we could get that studio. I'm really looking forward to this.
Oh my gosh. No, but it'd be cool because it's gonna be a whole new setup and everything. So that'd actually be a really good idea. Yeah. Charles, people want to find. You're not really active on Twitter, are you?
I'm not on Twitter. So if anybody hits you up on, it's a fake. It was for real. People somebody will have a fake account for me on Twitter and then start hitting people up for money.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
And I just followed a person named Charles because Reggae follows him.
Oh no, on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
And then I was like, oh cool. There it is. This dude. That's not you.
No, it's definitely not me.
Okay, let's unfollow this dude. Reggae follows him.
Let him.
Let him. We won't tell Reggae.
You got to look for the verification check.
I know. That's why. Because I was surprised.
You know, maybe I'll get one, but I won't ever tweet a thing. That way, you guys at least know you're following. But I have an Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't really.
So many like nudes on there. You got
Before they got taken down, yeah.
no, I report them.
Yeah. Only in my stories. Follow my story, you report them.
Dude, I want you to get. My goal is to get you to be a silly goose in my Instagram stories from now on.
Oh man. Okay. I'm not comfortable with that.
Let's break through that.
Okay. All right.
You like so don't want to do it. That's why I want to make you do it. Why do I love doing that? To all my friends,
Yeah, you're
making
good
them
about
do
it.
stuff they don't want to do.
Yeah, you're like a pusher.
Yeah.
Like a drug pusher.
Yeah, well, if you watch the Guys Night podcast, you remember the no laughing game I was talking about? One of my friends was crying.
Tears of joy, sadness, pain.
Michael?
Tears because he was trying not to laugh.
Mm.
He was trying so hard that physical tears were like coming out.
Yeah, but you're so good at that. You're so good at the deadpan, like the misdirection. I'm insecure because I know I won't be able to keep up.
Dude, you don't need to keep up. You just need to be you Charles's essence.
Okay.
Charles Michael Davis essence.
All right.
I don't know what that was, but
Tackle
that's
that dragon. I don't see there. I started and already you beat me down.
Yes! I have to! Damn it, Charles! Hey, that'd be a fun scene to do.
What's
I'm
that?
like a crazy acting teacher, and you're like a brand new student.
All right. No.
That'd be a fun bit to
Yeah.
play. Oh, you know who? Actually, we have a similar bit. Ben Rappaport and me.
Mm-hmm.
He's like my fake acting coach on set,
Mhm.
and we have this thing where we'll go tingles after a scene. If he likes it, he'll go tingles.
Tingles. Tingles.
Charles, seriously, thanks for coming on the show, man. And yeah, I'll see you on set soon.
All right.
All right, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the show. Big thanks to Adobe Radio for everything that you do. Thank you to Nice Guy Digital. Thank you to you, the listeners. Thank you to the people who wrote in today. Really appreciate you sending your questions for me. Michael, thank you for everything that you do.
You're welcome.
Big thanks to Steph Jula, the social media ruler, the old schooler. If you want social media, she'll give it to you. To ya. To you. To
To
you.
ya.
To ya.
Aquatine.
That's right. We out.
Yeah.